Thanks to Ken, thanks to you guys for having me once again. You know, it occurred to me on my way over here from campus, this is the fourth time I've been to the Quarterback Club of New Orleans. And I think the 3 previous times I made a statement somewhere along the lines of look for a different type of offense for LSU going into that season. So I'm proud to say, in case you haven't noticed, there's a new offense for LSU here in 2019. I know many of you and many fans across the state, obviously across the country, have been clamoring for this. And I think after week 1, most people believe, I certainly think after the trip to Austin and the win over Texas, that most people are believers. But it has been a very fun year for us following LSU with this change in offensive philosophy. And you know, some of that, as Coach O has talked about, is because of their mindset and their schemes, but a lot of it also has to do with execution. And without that, none of that matters. And they're lucky enough to have a field general like Joe Burrow at the current moment, who leads the country in completion percentage. And to me, he's racked up a ton of yards. He's got 11 passing touchdowns on the year, but that completion percentage to me stands out. Again, because I think it's based on some good receivers who are running very solid routes. I invite you to, if you've got a game recorded on your DVR, I've done it the last 2 weeks. I've gone back and I've watched the plays and stopped them mid-play and watched the tree routes these receivers are running. And what's impressive about what they're doing, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Sullivan this past week, Trey Palmer, the freshman, the list goes on, is that they are finding themselves wide open in these routes. They did it against Texas, and many people will say, well, of course they did it against Georgia Southern, and of course they did it against Northwestern State. But the game to really go watch, the complicated routes these guys are really executing at a high level, is that Texas game. Everyone wants to know about the defense. I've answered 5-6 questions since yesterday morning about how concerned I am about the LSU defense, and the answer is I'm not very. You know, looking back at the Texas game, it was a battle of 2 very good teams with a lot of NFL talent out there on the field, both for LSU and for Texas. In the Northwestern State game, it was timed out that the majority of the throws in the first half that Epler, the quarterback for the Demons, made came within 2 seconds. Some of them were 1.8, 2.0, 2.2. Coach O says he's concerned about the inability to get a pass rush. Well, I think maybe against Texas, not so much against Georgia Southern, and it's kind of hard to get a pass rush rushing 4 when you're getting rid of the football in less than 2 seconds. They had some struggles with the slot receiver against Texas. They had some struggles in the first half against the slot receiver against Northwestern State. Those were corrected in the second half, and it pretty much ended up the kind of game we thought it would be, 65-14. This weekend we start early at Vanderbilt, 11 a.m., 11:03 to be exact will be the kickoff time. Hard to get a gauge on Vanderbilt. They played 2 games. They got throttled in both. 30-6 to Georgia, 42-24 on the road against Purdue. Their defense is 125th out of 130 in total defense in the NCAA. They're right there around 125, I believe, in rushing defense. So for those who want to see a little bit more of LSU running the ball, because we all know eventually, as Coach O mentioned yesterday in his press conference, there's going to be a time where maybe Joe is not as accurate. Defense is going to scheme up for the passing attack. They're going to have to be able to run the ball. So I expect to see a good bit of that with the 5-back rotation led by Clyde Edwards-Helaire on Saturday against Vanderbilt. But season's going to get tougher. Schedule's going to get tougher. But right now, as I've told most LSU fans I come in contact with, enjoy what's happening right now, because it certainly is a lot different from an offensive standpoint than we've seen in quite a long time. If I were not leaving early for Nashville on Thursday, I can guarantee you I would be at Yeoman Stadium Thursday night. For those who have been here before, I concur with what Monica said. One of the greatest coaches I ever had the honor to work with was Willie Fritz, and I'm a big Willie Fritz fan. And I'm super excited what he and the Green Wave are doing at the moment, and going to be pulling for him Thursday night as well. So if you can't make it out there, I would invite you to do so. I'll try to make it brief there. And anybody's got any questions about the Tigers, be happy to answer.
Sorry.
He's got the mic.
First.
That's right.
I think you can have the receivers for LSU, talk to the receivers for the Saints how to get open. Don't touch that. That's a loaded question.
No comment.
Good answer.
Okay, John Emery was a big recruit that we got in, and so I thought we'd see a lot more of him and do. I didn't actually watch the game y'all had last week. So what's the hold up on his development?
Well, I don't know that it's his hold up on development. You know, one of the things I've learned working with Coach O is Coach O is very transparent. You have to sometimes read between the lines, but he's telling you exactly what the story is. And, you know, he did it with me last week on the radio show when asked about Emory and Ty Davis-Price and them not playing much at all. In fact, Emory didn't touch the field against Texas. And then he mentioned it again yesterday when asked in the press conference. And what he always responds with is there's certain situations in the game where they have a lot of trust in Clyde Edwards-Helaire and frankly a lot of trust in Leonard Fournette. I think that comes in the Texas game for the pass protection that they desperately needed. Without those guys, there's a couple of those plays, including that 3rd and 17, that don't happen. But also I think he's talking to the fact that they protect the football. So not putting words in Coach O's mouth, but my feeling is they still have yet to have the trust in those situations to hand the ball off to the 2 youngsters, and they probably got to work on ball protection a little bit. But their talent is no doubt there. We've seen that on display in the preseason camp and in their short times on the field. But he also says they all got to play. So like I mentioned, I think this Saturday you'll probably see a steady rotation of all 4 or 5 of those running backs.
Chris, I have 2 questions if you don't mind.
But you ask me questions year round. How come you get 2 today?
All right. The first one, they say Chris Carter, they said all he did was catch touchdowns. Well, we have a guy named Terrace Marshall that has 6 touchdowns and 16 receptions. Is it true? All he does is catch touchdowns?
You know, it's interesting. We were tracking over the weekend how many times he's caught a pass for a first down in a tough 3rd down situation and touchdowns. And it's amazing considering how touted he was coming out of high school, although he came into LSU with a slight injury. Last year he had some big moments and never scored. This year he gets that first career touchdown early, and now he's decided he likes him so much. He actually is tied for first in the country with 6 touchdowns on the season.
I thought so.
He's been a touchdown machine, no doubt.
First game, 4 catches, 3 touchdowns. Hey, second one, we're going to go to another sport. I know Will Wade had some controversy in the offseason. I've been a big fan of his throughout the whole thing. And I just want to see, how's he doing? How's his mindset? How's this upcoming season looking? I know you call basketball games, and you travel with them as well.
Yeah, and I'm also lucky enough, my office is next to Will's. So I get to see him usually in the morning and late at night if I'm there late, because he's normally there late. No, Spirit's great. I think he's excited. They came off that trip from Spain that they get to take every so many years from the NCAA, and they went over there and played some pretty good competition. They got some young players coming in, and, you know, talking to Will, he's excited. He thinks this has the potential to be another really good team for LSU, and I know they lost some major pieces from a year ago, but his mindset is 110% straight ahead. You know, he's the same old Will I've always known, and I know he's working hard with those guys. They're going to start practice as a team the end of this month, and I look for them to be competitive in the SEC. They got a tough schedule, but they got some of those. You know, they got Tennessee on the road, but they got Kentucky back here in Baton Rouge. But I look forward to be another great season. Anybody else? Oh.
Hi, my question's about the freshman offensive lineman from Lafayette, Perry.
Yeah.
He was injured in the fall drills, and they listed him as not practicing this week. Do you think he'll get to the playing field this year?
Well, I think there's a shot. I mean, I think his is solely based on, you know, trying to get back to 100%. You know, coming into the year, you felt like you had a little more depth at O-line and D-line, and now, unfortunately, due to injuries, not just his, but some that have happened over the last 2 weeks, now both groups are becoming a little more depleted. So my experience with Coach O is when you get to this point of the season, if somebody's ready to go, especially since he hasn't played as of yet, and you've got the new 4-game redshirt rule, wouldn't surprise me at all if he gets back to 100% to throw him out there. I mean, you got to admit, Coach O and Coach Craig have had no problems putting young players out there, giving them a shot. Last year, most of those big games were played with some freshmen who were thrown right into the fire. So I think it's, in his case particularly, I think it's more just about getting him closer to 100% before they give him a shot.
Right. Although he's from Lafayette, he has roots in the New Orleans area, the family, so.
Well, that'll be good.
Yeah.
No surprise he's playing pretty good football and playing at LSU. Anybody else?
Just comment on that based on Ed's comments.
Yeah, well, you know, Ed was quick to point out, you know, there's been a couple of news items over the last 2 to 3 weeks where, you know, they're hoping they get Ed Ingram back, which would be, speaking to the offensive line, would add a huge boost to the depth and and also experience and talent. You can tell Ed, being a young man, he's excited, wants to get back in there. So this has kind of been the second time where it looks like things are trending in the right direction for him to rejoin the team and be cleared and hopefully get out on the field. But Coach O, as of yesterday, even as late as 3:30, mentioned there's nothing official on his update as of yet. And I know Ed's excited, and as soon as it becomes official and it gets cleared from compliance at LSU and everybody is on the same page, he'll probably scream it from the football operations center, and everybody will hear it. He's excited to get him back. So we'll just have to wait and see. The important part is they feel like it won't take very long to get him acclimated and have him in the lineup. So I guess that alludes to the fact he's been staying in condition on his own as he's battled this event in his life, and should be ready to go. So they hope maybe if they can catch him going into a week, he'll be suited up and ready to play. So we'll just have to wait and see.